Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
I'm Amir.
and welcome to the Mastercast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Happy holidays, everyone. Whatever holiday you celebrate, and Happy New Year. This is the last episode of 2021. We're going on to 2022 soon. Uh, And it's funny how that worked out, that COVID started in 2020, because then people started making jokes about how 2020 doesn't count and that 2021 is 2020 part one. Like that's the new 2020. And now it's 2022. So we're in the second 2020 until this is over. The years just don't move on. It's not going to be 2021 until people actually act right so we could, get on with living how things used to be. But as usual, we're gonna start with what media we're consuming. You can start, Amir, unless you want me to start.
No, I can start. I can start. Okay, so I've been consuming a lot of media because I've really just kind of been in the house. So first and foremost, I've been reading a lot of H.P. Lovecraft, which, if you know me, you know I love horror. If you really know me, then you know my favorite genre of horror is Lovecraftian horror. So yeah, I have the giant like 1,000 tome Bible of H.P. Lovecraft that I've been reading, and then I also got a book that's Lovecraft Mythos Classic and Modern Collection. So it's like all the other authors that have added to the Lovecraft mythos with their own stories over the years. I got that, which is really cool. For the first time in like a month, I've actually been reading comics, which is weird because literally every other time I've read like a million and one comics, and for some reason I just haven't been reading comics now, which is weird. But I started reading the new comic. It's not really that new. Started coming out in like 2018, 2019, and it's still ongoing. It's called The Department of Truth. My God, this is one of the coolest comics I've ever read. And Dijon, I love HP Lovecraft. I love SCP, SCP stuff. I love Control and Alan Wake and stuff like that. This is like right up my alley. I won't go on a tangent about it, but basically it's this like the basic premise is that the world and like or every conspiracy theory in the entire world is like both true and not true at the same time, and that reality is shaped by like the world's perceptions. So like if enough people believe in Santa Claus and Santa Claus is real, or if like they did a really good analogy where like depending on what type of movie was released or what type of movie was released that year, Area 51 may or may not be harboring aliens. And so it's like it's really cool like that. And so it starts off with this FBI agent, and he goes to like this right wing like flat Earth conference where they got enough people to believe that the Earth is flat that part of Antarctica actually started to flatten out. Like this terrorist organization got like part of Antarctica to flatten out, and they had doctored footage of the moon landing to make it look like the moon landing is fake. And they were going over to Antarctica to film the flat part of the Earth, and they were going to release both of those to the public so that the moon landing would actually be fake and the Earth would actually turn flat. And then this lady comes in, kills everybody there, saves the FBI agent, and brings him into the Department of Truth, where they start like telling there's like telling them the truth of like how the world works and all that stuff. And he basically like hires this guy to be in the Department of Truth. And then the guy that leads the Department of Truth, like like the Nick Fury of the Department of Truth, basically is what's oh my god, what's his face? Lee Harvey Oswald, the guy who shot JFK. And that's like the leader of the Department of Truth. It is, oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. I'm on issue 2, which is dealing with the satanic panic era of the US, where it was like a decade where in like the 80s or whatever, where everybody believed that like there was like Satanism everywhere and like secret messages and songs and stuff like that. And like that's the issue I'm on, is issue 2 right now. Oh my god, it is so good. And the art is phenomenal. Some of the best art I've seen in a comic, to the point where it's like I don't think this could be adapted properly to a movie or TV show because of how the art style works. It oh my god, it's so good. It's really, really good. Um that's pretty much the only comic that I've been reading, which is really weird. It's an Image comic, and I haven't been reading anything Marvel or DC. Um Let's see what else. What else? I've been playing a lot of video games. I've been playing more Splitgate. I started replaying DC Universe Online. Don't ask me why. Um, I've been playing the Crisis trilogy because Crisis is really, really good. Everybody loves Crisis. Everybody should love Crisis. Still playing Far Cry. Hopping back on Battlefield. Battlefield had a really fun, almost like infected game mode where it was like elves versus Santa Claus. And like the elves had like sharp candy canes as knives, and like the Santa Claus people all had like LMGs. It's a really fun game mode. Um, I really hope they didn't take it off because it's not Christmas anymore. Because that was a really fun game mode. I want to play some more. Um, and oh, I've been reading books. I've been reading Agatha Christie. I just read And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. And then my grandmother just sent me, where is it? It's sitting around here somewhere. I think it's behind my laptop. It is not behind my laptop. Where is it? It's the first Miss Marple mystery. I don't remember what it's called. Oh, here it is. The Murder at Vicarage. And so I'm looking forward to reading that as well. And finally, I have been rewatching Brooklyn Nine-Nine because I had watched up until season, like halfway through season one. I stopped like a couple years ago, and now I'm rewatching it. Now I'm on the end of season two. And it is very funny. It is one of my favorite shows. If you don't watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you should. It is hilarious. I love that show so much. I think that's about it.
I used to watch it when it was airing back when it was on Fox. So what media I've been consuming. I've been continuing to read the second book in the Witcher series, Swords of Fate. I read a chapter a couple nights ago, like half a chapter last night. So I'm really good. I think I read one of my favorite chapters in the entire series so far a couple days ago. And actually, of course, I started getting back into reading the book because I had finished the second season of The Witcher. So I needed more Witcher in my life. So I started reading the book. Watching Hawkeye.
Forgot I did watch Witcher. You just reminded me. I forgot.
Well, I finished up Hawkeye, of course. Right before watching Spider-Man No Way Home, I watched Spider-Man Homecoming and The Amazing Spider-Man. And then I went and saw No Way Home. I think that was the first time I went to see it. I watched Homecoming and then went to go see the movie. And then the second time I went to go see it, I watched The Amazing Spider-Man and then went to go see the movie. I also saw Matrix Resurrections. I watched it on HBO. I played It Takes Two yesterday with my brothers while they were over here for Christmas. And we also played some Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite's really fun. So It Takes Two. With the games that came out this year, I don't know if I can really argue about it winning Game of the Year like that anymore because it's a really good game. So moving on to animation, Bleach is back. There was a trailer for the final season of Bleach, and dude, I legit cried. I have never felt so much nostalgia and hype that I legit cried before. I was literally watching the trailer, and when the trailer ended and I started to rewatch it again, I was just sitting there, tears were coming down my face. I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Bleach is essentially the anime / manga equivalent of what Uncharted was for me when it comes to video games. It was one of the first that showed me the true potential of the medium and inspired essentially my art style when it came to drawing for a long time when I was younger. So yeah, I'm really excited for that to come back. I might have to reread the comic. It's so good. It's so good. I love Bleach. um, have you continued your watch of Bleach? I know you were watching it for the first time.
Not at all. I literally have not seen an episode of Bleach in like 4 years when it was on Netflix. And I got to like this whole society arc and it was really good. And I just stopped watching. I meant to go back and keep watching. I just haven't watched in like 4 years. Maybe I'll go back and finish it eventually. It's going to be one of those Cowboy Bebop live action things where I'm sitting there on a Friday night with nothing else to do. And I'm like, Bleach. And I'm going to click on it. And then I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. So in terms of comics, I'm like, whereas you've been reading more comics lately, I've been reading less comics. I'm usually reading, some comics every week.
We've switched again.
But this last 2 weeks, I haven't really been reading like that. I got a bunch of comics in my backlog. I haven't bought any new issues because I haven't finished the issues that I currently already have downloaded. So I need to actually finish the ones that I have downloaded before I start buying new ones. So like, yeah. The only thing I have in terms of comics to talk about is that the writer of the Harley Quinn animated series comic, Eat Bang Kill Tour, had like responded to a tweet I made, and it was random as hell because this person had posted like, "What's your favorite comic of the year?" And I was like, Harley Quinn. And then she was like, "Thank you," and I was like, I did not expect anybody related to this comic book to respond to me. So I followed her, and upon following her, like a couple of days later, so she's a Black woman, she's queer, and she's also autistic, and a lot of people were like being super weird about in the comic in the last issue that I read, which actually I don't know if I talked about that last week. I know I talked about the I don't last week I talked about the one with Nightwing. I don't know if I talked about I don't even remember what number issue it is, but Vixen showed up in an issue. And Vixen had like the girlfriend that was in a wheelchair. And people essentially were saying that people were essentially saying that it's weird for a person to have sex with a disabled person. That is what the conversation was surrounding. And it was essentially her going like, why are you being weird? Like, just because a person is disabled doesn't mean they can't have sex. Like, that's not how that works. So yeah, that was a weird conversation that people were having, just being, bigoted as people are on Twitter. But yeah, she's a dope writer. The comic's been really good so far. It's felt just like every issue has felt like an episode of the show, which I really like. And like I said before, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, second favorite couple in DC comics. So I'm loving it. So moving on to TV and film. There is going to be a Gotham Knights TV show. There's a Gotham Knights TV show in production for CW by the team that works on Batwoman. So here's a little synopsis that was up on the internet. In the wake of Bruce Wayne's murder, the TV series finds his rebellious adopted son forging an unlikely alliance with the children of Batman's enemies. When they are all framed for killing the Caped Crusader, oh, I'm sorry, I read that. I read that really weird. Now branded the city's most wanted criminals, this renegade band of misfits must fight to clear their names. But in a Gotham with no Dark Knights protected, the city descends into the most dangerous it's ever been. So yeah.
Oh, so you were pausing at some really weird spots in that synopsis. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. What?
I read it and I was like, oh wait, why is that the end of the sentence? Why did I say it like that? But yeah, it seems interesting. So the rebellious adopted son could be either Damien or Jason, or they could just be. It could be Dick. It could be anyone. It could.
I really hope it's Jason. It wouldn't really make sense for it to be Damien because Damien's not really adopted. He's like biological. Immediately, I thought it was Damien, but when you said adopted, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. It would really only make sense for it to be Jason in my mind if it's going to be rebellious because like.
Unless
Dick's not really that rebellious unless they pull a Titans again and oh my god, don't just please give me a single accurate Bat Family depiction, please.
Unless they pull a classic every single TV show featuring a Robin and they just make the Robin it's either Dick and it's really they have the personality of Tim or Jason, or it's Tim and he has the personality of Jason.
I'm gonna cry. I'm really just gonna cry because like. Can y'all not like please? Can they hire me? Can I just like be the lead writer, or like whatever I can make sure that they're actually accurate? Pretty please.
But yeah, in terms of Batman's enemies, that could include the children of Batman's enemies. That could include both Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown because they both are children of villains.
To be fair, Stephanie Brown is like the child of the most B-list Batman villain of all time.
Yeah, but it's a villain nonetheless. So
most people don't even know that Cluemaster exists because he's literally just Riddler, like, but worse.
Yeah,
like much worse.
So yeah, that's interesting. CW shows haven't been hitting for me lately, so I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm interested to see where it goes. So, The Witcher season 2.
Yes,
it was pretty good. I like it.
As someone who loves season 1, love season 1. It is much better than season 1. Season 2 is much better. I love it so much.
I don't know because I watched I'm currently in the middle of rewatching season 2. I haven't finished rewatching it yet, but I've watched season 1 twice as well. And in my brain, I like season 1 more because I like a lot of the stories that they adapted a lot more than the ones that I can recognize that they've adapted in the second season. But what I like more about the second season is that I wasn't a fan of the whole Siri traveling and making her way towards Geralt part of the first season. I felt every time it like cut back to what Siri was doing, I was bored and didn't care. But now that she's with Geralt, everything surrounding her is always a lot more interesting since she's now surrounded by people who I find a lot more interesting.
Yeah, genuinely, every time like on every rewatch, and I rewatch Witcher season one a lot. Every rewatch of Witcher season one, I feel like, especially more recently, I just start skipping series scenes because I'm like, I don't care. I'm bored. Give me Geralt, give me Yennefer. I don't care.
But yeah, but now that she's with him, her story arcs is a lot more fun to watch. Um, we saw a lot more monsters this season compared to the first season, which is great because that's what witches are about, killing monsters. So that was pretty cool. So I've heard a rumor that Henry Cavill had to fight to keep scenes of Geralt and Ciri bonding because there weren't going to be as many as there are in the show, and a lot of people feel like there still wasn't enough. To me, I felt like it was enough, and there's more time for them to bond. But yeah, he's like a staunch supporter of staying true to the source material, specifically the books. So as long as he's involved in the show, I have a feeling that the show will continue to try to stay as true to the source material as possible, and which is pretty cool because I like the books a lot. Um, a lot of people I've heard are don't like that. They say that Triss and Yennefer's personalities, or at least their arcs in the second season, are a bit switched in comparison to the books. And I haven't encountered Triss in the books yet so far, I don't believe. So I can't really comment on that as much. But that's something that I have heard. I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
I just started the second book, so I mean, like I'm literally in like the first couple of pages of the second book, so like I'm not really, you know, everything I have to say regarding The Witcher has more to do with Henry Cavill's. Did you hear what he said? That he said he was sticking to what is it? Sticking to it was crap. What do I say? Sticking to Netflix's 7 season idea for the Witcher TV show, or he was committed to the 7 season idea,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that interests me because there's 8 books, but 6 of them are canon because 2 of them, well, I mean, they're all canon, but 6 of them are like the main timeline. Technically, 5 of them are the main timeline, but like
5 of them, well, the first 2 books are a collection of short stories, and every book after that is like a traditional novel with a story being told all the way through rather than like bits and pieces of.
no, that's the first. The first book is the short stories. Then the last 2 books in the series are also short stories.
The second book is also a short story book.
No, the second book's like a straight novel,
Nah, son, it's a short story book.
bro. It's straight novels, bro. I have it sitting in front of you right now. It's straight novel.
Bro, I'm further in the book than you are, but okay, we'll see. By the time I
Okay,
finish,
okay. Blood of Elves, right? We're talking about Blood of Elves, right?
no, the second book is Swords of Destiny.
No, that's the short story book. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's the second book.
But that's not canonically the second book in the series.
I'm talking about release order.
Release order is something completely different. I'm talking about like the actual series. The actual second book is Blood of Elves, which is technically the first novel. It takes place right after Last Wish.
If you look up Swords of Destiny, it is called the second book in the Witcher series. I'm looking it up right now.
But it's still not the second book. It's not canonically the second in the timeline.
It says Swords of Destiny is the second of the 2 collections of short stories, which are the first 2 books in the series that he wrote.
But that's not canonically the second book.
That doesn't matter. I'm reading it in the
Oh my
book
god.
he made them to be read, okay?
You're spoiling you're spoiling Blood of Elves for yourself. I'm just letting you know that now.
I'm better go to myself, okay? I'm reading it the way
You're spoiling Blood of Elves for yourself.
it's meant to be read. But okay.
Regardless, I find it interesting because if you know how the Witcher book series ends, they're not really leaving 7 seasons isn't really leaving much room for the games, which means that I'm very interested to see how the TV show is going to end because the games are very essential to the continuation of the story.
Which leads directly into our next topic, which is Hawkeye, and specifically like the length of a series. So like a couple minutes before we started recording, I saw a tweet about where a person was talking about how shows are around like 10 episodes long versus them being used to be like 22 episodes long. And you know, The Witcher was like 10 episodes long, so it was the first season. And Hawkeye was 6 episodes long.
Witcher was eight episodes.
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive. Because the first season was 8 episodes and the second season was 8 episodes.
So yeah. And people were talking, some people on Twitter were talking about how shows are really short lately, especially since on some streaming, Netflix especially, they all released them at once. And you know, I have several different opinions about that. Off top, my mind immediately goes, well, with shows like Hawkeye, when it's being aired week to week versus all at once, it kind of lengthens your enjoyment of the show because you get more time with it. You know what I mean? Whereas when you get it all at once, if you got the time, you probably just sit down, run straight through it, and then you're done. You got to wait a year for another season. But also,
Me with Witcher having to wait 2 years, I was so sad.
yeah. But also, feel like I do feel like 8 episodes is like kind of short, and you can 6 episodes especially is kind of short for Hawkeye, and you can kind of see these shows be affected by the seasons being so short. I think that several of the Disney Plus shows me have talked about could have used at least 1 or 2 more episodes, and I also feel the same way about The Witcher. Like a good, like I think for me when it comes to an hour long to like 40-minute to hour long show, I prefer 13 episodes max. Nothing more than that. I feel like more than that is too much. You get into the like the Flash type thing where the Flash is 20, it used to be 26 episodes every season. And because of that, it was just so much content.
No wonder The Flash feels so long every time I think about it. I'm like, wow. I'm sitting here thinking about like events or stuff like that, and I'm like, wait a minute, because now there's way more that I'm thinking about that was there, and I didn't remember it being there. And yeah, no, that makes sense now because I didn't remember it being 26 episodes. I'm like, whoa.
They artificially like pad out storylines because they have a certain amount of a certain episode quota to fill. So I think that there's a happy medium that I feel like a lot of people just like, specifically the people within the industry, don't really look at. They think it either needs to be really short or really long, and it's like, no, there's an in between. There's a gray area. It could be 20 episodes. It could be 15 episodes. It doesn't have to be episode 6 episodes or 26 episodes. You know what I mean? Like I think Hawkeye, while I enjoyed it a lot, didn't quite stick the landing like most of the Marvel shows in my opinion. With its last episode, and I think much like Falcon and Winter Soldier, the last episode, though enjoyable, was rushed and most likely due to COVID, which, you know, we can't help the fact that COVID exists, but it is unfortunate that that happened. Much like, you know, I said a lot when we were talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier. Because it definitely could have used another episode to flesh some things out. Specifically, and here we're getting into spoilers. Spoiler alert. Specifically, Kingpin. Kingpin was his lifespan in that show. No pun intended, and obviously he isn't dead. But his lifespan in that show was. Have you seen it? I'm realizing I'm just young.
Yeah, of course I've seen it. Okay. It's me. You really haven't seen it? Come on now. I saw that the moment I woke up.
And I did say spoiler alert. You would have said something if you didn't see it. But like, yeah. So I also saw it the moment I woke up. Like I didn't even get up. I think I went to use the bathroom, and then I didn't even wash my face or brush my teeth. I just laid back down and watched Hawkeye. And then once I finished watching Hawkeye, I went and washed my face and brushed my teeth. But yeah, his lifespan was extremely short in that show, and I feel like he didn't feel as much of a looming threat in the end as he was built up to be. Like I also hate his reveal at the end of the episode, at the end of episode 5, how it was just like, you know, that scene that they showed at the beginning of episode 6 of him talking to Eleanor.
Yeah,
That should have been the end of episode 5. Like instead of revealing him in a blurry still shot from a video, it should have been straight up that scene, and then and then the next episode, you know, you get more with him. I just feel like they didn't really utilize Kingpin very much, but I'm sure he'll show up in the Echo TV show.
He's absolutely showing up in Echo, and he's going to show up in Daredevil, and he's going to show up in the next Spider-Man trilogy. I really hope he's like the overarching villain of the next Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah.
He got buffed in Hawkeye, like majorly. The man got shot in the chest with an arrow, literally just noped it. Like
He
he
got
literally just
hit by
shrugged it off.
he got hit by
He
a
got hit by a car through a wall, then blown up, and was still walking around like he was fine. They tanked that man.
I wonder if they're gonna give a reason for it, or if they're just not gonna ignore it and just be like, you know who it is. It's Kingpin. This is just who he
I
is.
really hope they ignore it. I really hope they don't give a reason for it. Like, I really just want to see like no explanation. Kingpin's just now like
Even
strong.
though it was cool to see him do all that stuff, I think that fight was very poorly choreographed.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. I was kind of sitting there a little disappointed in that fight.
They kept cutting, and when you talk about it all the time, I hate when they just keep cutting. Like, sit still for a second. Like, I don't think it would have been very like we've seen Vincent D'Onofrio beat the hell out of Daredevil in the Daredevil show. We know that Vincent D'Onofrio knows how to pick a person up and throw them. Like he can do those things. They didn't need to cut so much. Like I don't feel like Kingpin, especially in this, in this last episode, he isn't like a professional fighter. He's just throwing his arms and picking people up and tossing them. I don't think that requires a very high level, fighting skill to the point to where they felt like they needed to cut around it because it looked really bad. Like how hard would it be to choreograph a person, pushing a person into a wall, or throwing not the best punch, but a really powerful punch at a person, throwing them across a room. I don't think that needed as many cuts as they added in.
Just shatters all of Kate's bones in one push.
I also feel like a lot of the fights in that last episode weren't the best. Honestly, I don't know. That last episode, it just didn't do it for me.
There's so much about that episode that I can't really talk about without talking about Spider-Man and stuff like that. There's just so much about that episode that just like
I'm excited.
I'm not gonna say at the very least they gave us Kingpin. At the very least they didn't Ralph Boner us like they did in WandaVision, but there's so much that they got so close to Ralph Bonering us with in that Hawkeye episode, and I'm just like, why? Like, come on now.
Yeah. So this person on Twitter at Nightwingology said that we know more about Echo, Yelena, and Kate's past than we do about Clint's.
Yeah.
This person on Twitter specifically said he mentions like Swordsman and Trick Shot Circus backstory, Barney Barton, Clint's life before Shield. That's what I was expecting to see in this show. He was kind of a side character in his own show. Like, if they do, like, are they going to do season 2? And if they do, we actually going to be able to like Clint's backstory? Like, how did he become Shield agent? Like, how did he get where he is? Why is he so good with the bow? Like, but yeah, I want to know more about Clint's backstory. Like, overall, MCU Clint is just not great.
He's literally Jason Bourne. Like he reprises his role in the Jason Bourne show, but now he has a bow and arrow in the family. Like or in the Jason Bourne movie, but now he has a bow and arrow in the family. Like I don't care about MCU Clint like at all. And then what was with that ending with the Watch? Is she Mockingbird? Is Agents of Shield not canon anymore? Like what is going on? They didn't explain any of that.
Agent of Shield was never really canon, but also
it was definitely big canon, especially during like the beginning and middle phases of phase 2 and 3. That was big time canon. Did you ever watch Agents of Shield?
Yes, not now. Just because they were writing the show in a way to make it potentially fit into canon doesn't make it canon. They were just writing it so that if they ever decided to bring it into canon, it could be canon. But it was never.
Oh, that was. I'm telling you, it was literally like it was canon. Events in the movies were taking place in Agents of Shield, and events in Agents of Shield were taking place in the movie. It was canon, and there were writer statements. It was canon for a long time. It was explicitly canon.
It was never official. It was never official canon. Like I said, they were writing it so that if they
Dijon, there are literally writer statements and interviews explicitly stating the show was canon. Yes, writers on the show and Kevin Feige himself. It was canon for a long time.
They're not the ones who say things are canon, okay? But anyway, I say all that to say I really do want Agents of Shield to be canon. There's
It was canon. This is the thing. It's been canon. It's been explicitly canon.
a lot of really cool stuff in canon, and also Coulson is just cool. I want Coulson back. Like honestly, I thought they would have brought Coulson back a long time ago, especially with everything that happened to Agents of Shield. I thought they would have been brought Coulson back, but whatever. Maybe they will someday. Like other than that one, like showing him like starting out as an agent in Captain Marvel. But yeah, it also could be that Agent 19 is a title and that she isn't the actual Mockingbird. You know what I mean? Like she held the title at one point, but someone else picked it up after her.
I just want Mockingbird back. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Actually, what I just want is for them to reboot Hawkeye entirely. But you know, it's I'm never gonna get that. So
I mean, they could just get rid of Clint. I'm good with Kate. So Matrix Resurrections. Have you seen it?
no,
Really? I thought you were gonna watch it in theaters.
no, I want to watch it in theaters. We're supposed to go on Tuesday.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I guess we'll talk about that next time. So I'll just give my spoiler-free review. I enjoyed it. It was very meta. And there were definitely, much like the first one, a lot of allegories for Lana Wachowski's like actual life. I didn't enjoy the action very much, which is disappointing for a Matrix film because it's Matrix. And even in the worst Matrix films, like the Revolutions, which is it's not good. I hate it. Like the action was still fun.
The third movie is the worst. They just get progressively worse. I don't know. I can't say anything about Resurrections, but they get put like the first one was a masterpiece. The second one was cool. The third one was just bad.
Resurrection is definitely better than the third one, like leaps and bounds.
Okay. I mean, that's not hard to do. Looking at the quality of the third one, it's not really hard to do. But I'm glad to hear that.
Like it's at least better than the third one. I can't say I like it more than the second one, but I also like the second one more than I feel like most people. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Here we are, the meat and potatoes of this episode. We're going to talk about Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Finally, what I've been waiting for since I saw the movie.
Spider-Man: No Way Home. We're going to start with non-spoilers, and then I'll tell you when we can get into spoilers. So it is now my second favorite MCU film, just below Captain America: Winter Soldier, which still holds number one. That movie's really good. The trilogy, in a lot of ways, was essentially a very long origin story for Spider-Man. And honestly, I don't think it would have hit as hard if we didn't get those first two movies before this. I don't think it would have hit this hard if we didn't get this. Which I like I don't dislike those movies. I do enjoy them a lot. I wanted to see Mysterio in live action for a long time. And it was cool to see Vulture in live action, especially what they did with Vulture in that first movie. Homecoming was really good. I like Homecoming more than Far From Home, but I do enjoy Far From Home. Tom's performance was great. This was definitely his best performance as Spider-Man. I've always thought he was a pretty good Spider-Man, but the material that they were giving him wasn't having him live up to his true potential. But this one definitely gave him some stuff to work with. Willem Dafoe, that was both his Goblin and his Norman up to like 1,000% in this film, and easily the best villain in the movie. Compared to all the other villains, he feels like the main antagonist. This movie had Peter go through his toughest battles, and make some sacrifices. Sacrifices necessary to be a hero. To be Spider-Man. What's your non-spoiler review before we get into it?
Very good. Very, very good. Second favorite Spider-Man movie. I don't know how it ranks among my favorite MCU movies. It's definitely not a second highest for me, but it's pretty good. I liked it a lot. I gotta watch it again. There's a lot of Easter eggs. Also, what they do with the post-credit scenes, because I had read the entire spoiler synopsis the day before I got my ticket. And so I knew that there was a second post-credit scene, but the way that
that's become a record in Marvel movies. There's always going to be two.
But the thing is with this one, make sure you stick around because they never put it at the very tail end of the credits, to my knowledge. Like, this is the first time they put it at the tail end of the credits. Like, I was sitting there like, did they lie to me? Like, sitting in the credits, I'm like, it's never this far back. No, you gotta wait until you see like the logos of like the I don't even know what companies those are, but like the like Georgia Fruit Company or whatever it is. Like you gotta wait until you see those logos to wait until you see the or to wait until you see the actual second bus credit scene because they don't really. They waited. They really like baited you. I'm sitting there like I kind of want to go home now, but no, it's there. It's there. You just gotta wait.
Yeah. So from here on out, we will be talking spoilers. So spoiler alert, there will be a big red spoiler button on the screen as usual. So Matt Murdock appears as Peter's lawyer and shows that he is indeed Daredevil by catching a brick that's thrown through the window right before Peter could, because Peter also sticks his hand out, but Matt catches it first because he's a really good lawyer. And I saw someone post on Twitter that that said only if Two-Face was a really good lawyer, he wouldn't be Two-Face. But yeah, we have Daredevil, we have Kingpin. We're 100% getting a Daredevil show or movie or both. Most likely a show.
I hope it's both. I would rather a show than a movie, but like imagine it's both. Like I would love both.
I think they're gonna give him a show and he's gonna appear in other people's movies.
I definitely think it's gonna be the same thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's dope. Mr. Tomei didn't get too much to do with Aunt May in the first two films, other than being essentially a MILF joke the whole time, or a ILF. How would you pronounce it if there was an A instead of an M? A ILF, I guess.
I'm not even gonna try my hand at this, and I'm kind of the fact that you're actually trying your hand at this is like hilarious to me.
I'm not cutting it out because that's exactly what they were essentially playing her off as. But she also like displays like public disdain for the fact that that is essentially what she's been in these films. But she ends off on a high note by actually having a lot of great scenes in this film and actually being much more like a driving force in the plot that really helps, that really pushes I'm stuttering, Peter forward as a character. She dies. She's murdered by Green Goblin, and right before she dies, she gives the classic, with great power must also come great responsibility line, which I discovered is actually the original way it was said in the comic, which nobody said it. It was just at the end of the comic, and like
it was in Peter's internal monologue.
But yeah, Marissa Tomei, she went out and bang. We got a great performance out of Tom, in that scene that went long, but not in a bad way. It went just long enough to make you feel the emotion. And immediately after that, just as predicted and leaked, Andrew and Toby appear as Ned uses a sling ring, showing sling ring, showing that he has magical abilities. And that scene was cool, especially when they were telling him to like show us your Spider-Man, and he jumps up on the ceiling, and they're like, "That's not enough," and he's like, "This is enough." Those were.
I love Andrew's Peter. He's still my favorite Peter. There's no, you can't hate him. He's hilarious.
I'm literally after this going to go watch the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'm just been on Spider-Man kick ever since watching that movie. I just can't stop thinking about Spider-Man. I'm probably going to rewatch Spectacular Spider-Man one of these days. I wanted to watch Into the Spider-Verse yesterday on Christmas, but there was too much stuff going on that I didn't get a chance to watch it. But yeah, I'm trying to think what else I have to say. This movie essentially hit a giant reset button for Spider-Man in the MCU. They either clearly saw that their approach wasn't working for a lot of people, or they had this plan from the beginning. I think it's probably the former, meaning that they saw that it wasn't working. I was like, okay, let's try to.
They definitely did. It was definitely they saw that it wasn't working because from what I've heard of the original plans for this movie, it had the multiverse not panned out. I'm not gonna say it would have been more of the same, but it doesn't. They wouldn't have changed it. They wouldn't have changed things like they did here.
There were and we'll get into like talking about the future of like what we want to see or think we're gonna see later. But there were rumors that there were rumors about the movie being about Craven. I'm not sure if those were ill-founded or if those were official, but some people are
No,
saying
those were like official rumors,
some people
or
were
well, not official, official. You know what I mean? Like those were officially. That's what was gonna happen.
some people were saying that that was their backup plan just in case they couldn't get Toby and Andrew to do Craven instead. Which that makes sense. But he's now essentially a broke college kid again. He's gonna get his GED, and then he's gonna get into school, and he's definitely gonna go to school in New York.
And he has that terrible apartment. I love it.
At the very end, Tom Hardy's Venom appears and leaves behind a piece of the symbiote. But yeah, before we get into predictions, let's just talk about the Peters a little bit more. Every scene with all three Peters is great. And much like the scene with Aunt May, where they let it go on for a little long to make you feel that emotion, I feel like every scene with three Spider-Man went on just a tad bit longer than you would expect it, but it worked because it just allowed them to have more conversations and just really just get to see them interact. And their interactions were just great, especially the obvious joke of Andrew talking down on himself and Toby being like, "You're amazing. I want to hear you say it. Say you're amazing." Because he's the amazing Spider-Man. And I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, let's talk about the future of Spider-Man. And then after that, we'll talk about the trailer that was in the post-credit scene, which was the trailer for the Multiverse of Madness, which is now officially up on YouTube.
I've only seen that trailer like one time.
Oh, what? I
was sitting in the theater. I didn't watch it after that.
I watched it like 5 times. Like once they put it on YouTube, I watched it a couple times. I watched some reaction YouTubers react to it. I watched it several times since it came out. Speaking of which, I'm probably going to watch it again after this because there's some reaction YouTubers who I didn't get a chance to watch it. Watch it. So yeah, I feel like somebody was talking about how the Amazing Spider-Man is called the Amazing Spider-Man, and they're no longer going to go with the home thing anymore because they're moving on to a new trilogy. And I was thinking, what if they call his movies like Spectacular Spider-Man or something like that?
That'd be cool.
Like his next trilogy of films are going to be like the Spectacular Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man 2, the Spectacular Spider-Man 3. I think that could be really cool.
I can see it. Personally, I don't know if you ever read the Friendly Neighborhood series, but I personally want them to title it Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I don't necessarily want them to base it on that series, but
I think that makes much more sense, especially since he essentially became a Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man at the end of the movie because he's now back to basics. So it would make sense if the next movie was called Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. But let's talk about some predictions for potential sequels to the Amazing Spider-Man and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy.
I thought you were going to talk about Tom Spider-Man. I was like, I have a lot of predictions for that. But for Andrew Spider-Man, I still have predictions for that.
We're going to talk about both, but you can start with Tom.
I can start with Tom? Okay, so my major predictions for Tom Spider-Man, and I actually talked this out with one of my friends, Kenny, like severely talked it out with him. So my predictions, I did put it in like a trilogy format. I completely ignored, like 110% ignored, like him appearing in other media, which he's obviously going to do. I really, really expected him to appear in Hawkeye because at the end of No Way Home, he literally has an apartment right outside of Rockefeller Center during Christmas. And then in Hawkeye, they literally kind of just destroy Rockefeller Center and just doesn't appear, he just like sleeps through all of it or whatever. But so the villain of the entire trilogy, in my eyes at least, is going to be Kingpin, more than likely. I don't know whether or not they'll show that he's alive until maybe like the second movie, because the whole death fake out whatever thing, which he's clearly not dead. I don't know if they're going to show that Kingpin is alive until the second movie or not, or they're going to show that he's alive in other media. But the way that I imagine it,
I think that Echo is going to come out before the next movie comes out, and they'll show that he's alive in Echo.
Oh, I don't doubt that. My idea of like when the next movie's gonna come out is probably like late 2023, early 2024, and like Echo's more than likely gonna come out before then. Like I don't see a way that it wouldn't I doubt that the show's not already in like pre-production, and I don't even know if they start writing for the next Spider-Man trilogy. Like I don't even like no Echo's gonna come out first,
Yeah, I feel like
but
yeah, Echo's either going to come out late next year or early 2023.
yeah. But what was I saying? Oh, so Kingpin is going to be the villain of the trilogy. But ideally they don't show him in the first movie. Somehow, I don't know how, because MIT is definitely in Massachusetts,
Yeah, no, I think
and
he'll go to Empire State University. I don't think he's going to go.
I mean they were talking about going to MIT. So like I'm like
He's going to get there.
somehow I want Ned and MJ to stay in NYC. I don't know how that's gonna happen, but
I think that they're going to pull like a Far From Home, and in the second movie, he's not going to be in New York, and he's going to be in Boston.
oh, that'd be hilarious. They just do a whole switcheroo, like just barely miss each other. No, but okay. Somehow I want MJ and Ned to be in New York. I don't really care how that happens. Maybe MIT gets blown up in another MCU project or something, and all the
Visiting family.
I didn't hear any of that.
He'd just be visiting family. Both her and Ned go back for like winter break or something.
The Winter Breaker. What ideally what fits in my little MCU headcanon is like MIT gets blown up, and like let's say like Riri Williams accidentally blows up MIT or something, and then like they're forced to go to Empire State because Empire State is like the second best school in the country, or some I don't know. I don't know. They're forced to go to Empire State, and so Peter like is trying to be friends with MJ, and Ned still not trying to like romance MJ or anything because he feels very weird about like that whole thing. But Craven is the villain, and Craven begins hunting him, and Black Cat shows up as the romantic interest of this movie. And at some point, I don't know if I'm going to do this movie or next movie. At some point, he gets the symbiote, and it starts the symbiote saga. At the end of the first movie, or sometime in the second movie, he breaks up with Felicia. There's I don't necessarily know that I want to do a whole love triangle thing because I hate love triangles most of the time in fiction,
Love me a good love triangle.
but I like when they're done well. Now I'll say it like this: when they're done well, they can be done really well. But most of the time I've seen them done, they're done really like irritatingly poorly. But like if they do a love triangle, I want it, of course, to be between Peter, Felicia, and MJ. And eventually, of course, Peter and Felicia would break up. Peter would get with MJ. The second movie, he wouldn't have the symbiote anymore. Like he would lose it in the first movie or whatever of the trilogy. Like the first movie would be the symbiote saga essentially, but like mixed with Kraven's Last Hunt. And the person who hired Craven would be revealed to be Kingpin at the end of the movie. Oh my god, crazy. Second movie, Kingpin would be more in the forefront, but he still wouldn't be the main villain of the movie. Daredevil would take a role. I would want I'm really trying to figure out how this would work, but I would want Punisher to be in the movie as an antagonist, but not as the main antagonist. I want Punisher to be in the movie though, like as some type of like secondary villain. Main antagonist, I'm thinking might be Hobgoblin. I don't know. It could also be Scorpion because they really teased the hell out of Scorpion since Homecoming. He just wasn't anything.
Yeah, I was watching a review, a podcast review of it, with Team 4-Star, the people that do the Dragon Ball Z Bridge, and they were talking about how it would like the version of J. Jonah Jameson in the MCU is much more dastardly than the version that we've seen in like the Raimi films, where in the Raimi
Oh
films,
yeah,
the Raimi films, he still feels like a good. He's clearly a good person.
yeah.
Whereas MCU, he does not seem like a good person, like at all. Like he could eventually grow and become a better person, but as of now, he's a horrible person. So he
Yeah,
could
he's a really bad guy.
just like in the comics, he could straight up fund like Scorpion becoming a thing, and that could lead up to Scorpion existing.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
I feel like that could, like you said, they tease it really hard, and I don't think they're gonna do the Ultimate Universe Scorpion. I think they're gonna do the like 616 green suit Scorpion.
I hope they don't do Ultimate Universe Scorpion. I was just talking with a friend about this. The Ultimate Universe is. They just need to stay as far away from a lot of the things in that universe as possible.
I could be mistaken, but I think the actor who's playing Scorpion is who's playing I forget his real name. You remember his real name? You probably don't.
I do not. I don't think I ever knew his real name. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I just can't remember it right now. But the person playing Scorpion is, I could be wrong. I think he's Latino. So
He's
that's
definitely Latino. I know he's definitely Latino.
that's why I feel like they're probably combining the two in the sense that they're gonna keep Scorpion Latino, but they're gonna give him like the look and the powers of the 616. Which I'm excited to just see what that looks like in live action. Technically, we've seen a slice of that in the Spider-Man games. That's a good example of what it will probably look like in live action. So yeah, I think Scorpion popping up makes sense. So for me, the only reason I kind of don't want Black Cat in the MCU is because I don't think that I want Black Cat to be in the Amazing Spider-Man universe, and I want
I want that too. She fits a lot more with the Amazing Spider-Man than anything.
her to be a main character in the third Amazing Spider-Man film, and I don't think they should, and I don't think they would have a character that's going to be heavily featured in an Amazing Spider-Man sequel be featured in the MCU. So my idea for an Amazing Spider-Man 3 sequel is that it's a bit of a mob story. So Hammerhead and Tombstone are essentially in a war. So he's dealt with petty crimes and he's dealt with supervillains, but he's never dealt with organized crime. So this is a problem that he can't just punch his way through. He has to figure out a way to take it apart in a different way. And to do that, he will eventually come across Black Cat, who will be indebted to one of the sides, and that's how they run into each other because he catches her doing a job for one of them. And then eventually, when the sexual tension is popped and they actually, he eventually figures out why she's doing what she does, and they team up, and she essentially works from the inside, helping him take them down. And also, I want him to have some type of end with like the police force, similar to like Yuri in the video game, to also help him take down this mob. That's what I want. It makes film movie. I would want it to be a mob story featuring Black Cat.
Honestly, the Amazing Spider-Man could really, it could really, like out of all the other Spider-Man, it could really turn into like the PS4 universe or like the closest to the PS4 universe of all the live action Spider-Man. I could really see that happening.
As you can tell, that's heavily inspired by the DLC for the first Spider-Man game.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could tell.
um,
Also, I don't know if you ever played the Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game, which it's not very good. If you're gonna play an Amazing Spider-Man game, you should play the first one because the second. You said what?
play both of them.
You played both of them. Okay, so Kingpin is like the main villain in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game.
I haven't played them to completion, but I've played them.
Okay, he and Black Cat are both heavily in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game. And what you were just talking about reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah, and for the Sam Raimi sequel, I would want it to be that Mary Jane and Peter has a kid, and at this point they're like a teenager, maybe like a 14, 13, around that age, and that this is like leading the way for like Peter to retire and like his daughter to take over. Maybe even for the sake of, because they don't want Toby to show up in the films, maybe because maybe he'll be like, okay, one more and I'm done. They actually kill him off. They actually kill him off, and they have like his daughter take over. I think that could be cool. Someone also mentioned the idea of what if they did a better Clone Saga, and Toby dies and his clone takes over as Spider-Man.
That'd be interesting. That'd be really interesting. Even better, have his clone played by Jake Gyllenhaal.
That would be so funny. Oh my god, that would be so good.
Jake Gyllenhaal is the Ben Riley of the Tobey Maguire universe.
They have to do like a multiverse thing where he beats Mysterio, and he's also playing Mysterio.
I could actually, out of every actor that I can think about that's been involved in a Marvel project, I could see Jake Gyllenhaal doing that the most because Jake Gyllenhaal is just weird. I could really see him doing that.
Yeah, that's how I feel about like the other Universal films. I also came up, how DC, not DC, Sony is doing a bunch of like Spider-Man villain movies, and I was thinking, what if they did a Shocker movie that was like a heist movie, and he has to get together a crew to like do a heist, but he also has to obviously contend with Spider-Man. So he's trying to figure
Okay,
out.
first of all, a Shocker movie, just plain and simply, it doesn't matter if it's a heist movie or a horror movie. I don't care what genre it is. It would be hilarious because Shocker is hilarious.
It has to be a comedy. It would be a heist comedy action movie where he's trying to put together a crew and rob a bank, but without getting caught by Spider-Man. And like Spider-Man's always in the background, like it's like just a looming shadow over the entire movie, where Shocker has to figure out how to actually properly rob the bank without Spider-Man catching him this time. And that would be
Ooh, and his heist crew. His heist crew's got to be like all like super D-list Spider-Man villains.
yes, because I was
And
like, I
then
don't,
like do it like Suicide Squad style, so like they die throughout the movie, but like Spider-Man doesn't kill any of them.
yeah, I don't want any of them to be like big name like villains. I want them to be villains way further down the list, like you said, D-list villains. I need
Like
that.
Screwball or Big Wheel or something like that.
Yeah, I
Like
also want like for there to eventually be a point where like Shocker's trying to steal something, but Black Cat just got there before him and just stole. And like that's her cameo. She just cameoed by stealing something from Shocker. I just feel like that could be a really fun movie. The thing about the like Sony Spider-Verse is that it could be so good, but you know what it needs? Spider-Man.
Andrew Spider-Man could be the one. Andrew Spider-Man, because that was the original plan. It's like all these villains were like Andrew's villains. Like I
Yeah.
now there are a lot of rumors that they're bringing Andrew back. Just make him the Spider-Man of this universe.
Yeah, that Spider-Man universe could work really well. It just one just needs actually good movies, but also it needs
Their biggest problem isn't Andrew or isn't missing Andrew. It's just making good movies. Period.
like Venom, like even though I feel like Venom obviously can stand on his own. I just think that his origin should always start with Spider-Man. But even if that wasn't the case, Venom has the makings of a good movie. Like when you think about making a Venom movie, you could see it and go, I can see how that could be good, you know? But they just messed it up.
I had a lot of fun with the first Venom. I didn't even bother watching the second one.
Yeah, I didn't. I'll probably watch it eventually when it's like streaming somewhere. But I also had fun with the first one. But you know, I've talked about it before. Just because I found something doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah,
But
it doesn't mean it's good. Like I'm not gonna argue it's a good film. I'm not gonna defend it like I defend the Amazing Spider-Man. It's not a good film. It's fun. I had fun with it. You know, it's a reason why you go to see the movie. It's the reason why you go to the movies to have fun. You know what I mean? Like it's a fun movie. It's not good, but
you have fun. That's all that matters.
I keep hearing so many mixed things about Venom 2 though. Like I keep hearing some people say, "Oh, it's better than the first one." Other people are like it's like way worse, like a million one times worse than the first one. I don't hear a consistent argument. It's just both sides are both like, "Oh, it's either better or it's worse." And I'm like, "Well, now you're not giving me a good reason to go like spend money on this." I don't what like.
I'm excited for the future of the Spider-Verse. I'm so excited. Let's just talk about maybe not. Because I was gonna say, let's talk about Tom Holland's real life for a second. Because he's talking about like he doesn't want to do Spider-Man forever, of course, and he's like he's not really. He talks about how if he's still playing Spider-Man when he's in his 30s, he doesn't know how he feels about that. And also, like I feel like Zendaya has changed this man's life.
She really has. There's no
Because he's talking about having children now, and I'm like, whoa, calm down. Like this dude's life has been changed. Like, so if he eventually leaves, they'll probably obviously bring in Miles Morales. And the person that people are thinking is the dude that plays the little kid from whose real name is actually Miles. I just can't remember his last name. He plays the youngest son in Blackish. Let me look up his name. And funny enough, not only has he cosplayed Miles Morales before, but he also there's like this picture online where like at the homecoming premiere, he was at the premiere when he was younger, and then he was at the premiere for the new movie, and now he's taller than Tom Holland and has a mustache.
I was just talking to my mom about this because we were talking about like family members and stuff who I'm like convinced are like 2 years old and they're like in high school right now. And I'm like, are you serious? Like people just grow up so fast and I don't even realize.
Yeah. So yeah, this kid's 16, and I feel like it would be real funny to have him be like Miles while Tom is still around, and just have him still be like he's obviously taller than him and like has facial hair. And I just feel like that could be a fun dynamic of them always talking about how why is that dude taller than you? Is he older than you? Like they think that he's the older Spider-Man because he's just
That'd be hilarious.
I feel
They
like
talk to Miles like, "Oh, you're babysitting today." And see Peter just like start freaking out about it.
He's like, dude, I'm like 7 years older than this kid. Yeah, Multiverse of Madness. So Strange has a new, more comic accurate suit, which is a trend that Sony, not Sony, the MCU has been doing lately, which is pretty cool. Seeing them slowly make suits more and more comic accurate and actually make it work. Because a lot of people are all about, how do you feel about this actually? There's always an argument online about practical suits versus like just literally anything else. And people always want the suits to be practical, even in the comics. And like, I don't think there's anything wrong with practical suits, but to want every single suit that exists to be practical in this fictional world where people have superpowers, I think is ridiculous.
My argument with practicability or with practicality, that's a practicability. With practicality is I'm all for practicality, 110% for practicality for street level characters like Batman and the thing with Batman and stuff like that, you can do practical suits that still look very comic accurate. I don't think people this is gonna sound really weird. I promise you, I'm not a weapons developer. I'm not Tony Stark, but I do look at body armor like a lot. You could make a straight up like '60s Batman suit that is still very practical just by using like a lot of layered Kevlar. Like, and even people are like, "Oh, his muscles shouldn't be popping in the suit." You can just make like fake muscles out of Kevlar, and it would still be completely practical and look like real muscles. Like, no, you can do that.
Like
But it's oh my god.
I want to eventually again see a live action Batman suit that is blue with the oval. Um, like I want that blue cowl, not bright blue, but like a dark navy blue. That's still very clearly blue, but it's just super dark. And I want that oval symbol again, and I want to see that in live action. I feel like it could make it look really good if they tried.
Yeah, no, like I'm big on practicality and everything, but I'm like you can have a comic accurate suit that is practical.
Like
Like it's not hard to do, especially for street level characters. For
I
characters like Superman or like Starfire or whatever, where you're like invulnerable to like 90% of anything. I don't really care what your suit looks like. You could literally be flying around naked. You're going to be invulnerable to just about everything that hits you. It doesn't matter what you wear. That's why Superman wears like cloth. Like he literally just wears cloth. I'm like, okay, I don't really care. You literally fly faster than the speed of light and can like be thrown through planets. I don't really care what you're wearing right now. But like for characters like Batman, I'm all about or like Captain America or whatever. I'm all about practicality. But you can have accurate and practical suits.
exactly. So I was gonna say I'm not sure how you feel about this Iron Fist suit, but I think the tracksuit Iron Fist suit is a good example of that.
That's my favorite Iron Fist suit, especially the black and yellow one. That's my favorite Iron Fist suit of all time. Is the tracksuit.
I want it to be green and yellow, but whenever he comes in live action again, I want him to wear that tracksuit.
I mean, I want him to start with green and yellow, and then I want him to do the white and gold of the new Avengers. Like maybe he teams up with Doctor Strange. What happens in New Avengers when he gets the white and gold suit is he becomes like the oh, I actually don't remember. He's like the champion of Agamotto or whatever. I really don't remember. But he gets like this white and gold suit, and he's like a lot more mystical. And then he goes for like the black and gold suit, and that's my favorite suit, the black and gold track suit, and it just looks so good, and it's very practical. Like I don't honestly with characters like Iron Fist, I don't care if you're dodging bullets. You don't got to be bulletproof. Just like just dodge. I don't care.
Especially if he's teamed up with the premier bulletproof superhero.
Right, literally teaming up with what's it, Luke Cage or like just I know people don't like MCU or don't like Netflix Iron Fist, but like him hiding behind Luke Cage in that one scene in Defenders while they all shot, I was like, oh, that was perfect. That was perfect.
I couldn't remember his name for a second, so I was just gonna call him Power Man, but I was like, no, his name's Luke Cage.
I forgot that he even went as Power Man. Like I'm not.
Talking about my Power Man and many a moons. But yeah, Strange goes to recruit Wanda to help him fix, the mess he made. We see small glimpses of America Chavez every now and again in this trailer, and we
She's
just
a little girl in this show, or in this movie, which is kind of funny to me.
we just straight up see Shumagora. Like they just straight up show throwing a bus and Doctor Strange cutting it in half. Mordo is back, as we assumed he's back as a anti-hero. He's not a villain. I would say he's an anti-hero.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like he's gonna. I feel like he's gonna turn into a villain by the end. By like the end of this movie, he's probably gonna be a
that's
villain.
what the end of the first movie was supposed to be, but I don't think he's gonna go full dark side. I think he's gonna he's gonna like tote the edge.
Okay, that's interesting. I can see it.
We saw like this like evil version of Doctor Strange that I'm not convinced is the this like Supreme Strange from what F.
I've been saying that like it's not him. They don't look well. I mean, they kind of look the same, but like
They look the
the
exact.
live action version of Supreme Strange, if this is him, it's literally just like Dark Strange, like nigga Strange. Like no, like that's not
What did you just say?
that's not Doctor Strange. Is what I'm saying. Like it's not Supreme Strange. You never heard that? You never seen the what is it? The Dark Crimson Chin? They were like the nigga chin.
The nigga chin!
I thought you the nigga Strange. What?
Because that's what he like. He's literally just darker Doctor Strange in this. But I'm like, that's not what Supreme Strange looks like. Like he's not just Doctor Strange with a dark shader. Like that's not
Yeah, but
Doctor Strange
also,
like plus 50 stealth. That's not him.
but also because they just gave Doctor Strange a more comic accurate suit. If you look at the suit that Supreme Strange is wearing, like in the show, it's essentially the comic accurate suit, except that it's purple and gold. Instead of blue and red.
Which actually is pretty accurate for what was it, that era where like Doctor Strange was using dark magic or whatever.
Yeah. So if this was that version of Doctor Strange, he would be wearing purple and gold, not gray.
Yeah.
But I do think that Supreme Strange is going to show up. There's no way they're going to do a multiverse movie and not have that version of Strange that we all just saw in that show that is technically canon, despite the fact, it takes place in different universes. It takes place in the canon multiverse of the MCU. So like, of course, we're going to see that character eventually in that movie. How much of them we're going to see, who knows? Maybe will be fighting and like going through different dimensions, and we will literally just see a glimpse of him. But yeah. You also got to remember, Sam Raimi is directing this. The man that did the first 3 Spider-Man films and Evil Dead.
I was like, and Evil Dead. Don't forget Evil Dead.
And
Can never forget Evil Dead.
Yeah, I love all 3 Evil Dead films. Well, I haven't seen Army of Darkness in a long time. I love the first 2 Evil Dead films, and I love the 3 Spider-Man films. I do enjoy that 3rd one. So his style of specifically cinematography is amazing. The way he shoots things is great, and I'm excited to see that. But in Doctor Strange, which is already known for like just distorting reality and physical space. And also, I want to see Doctor Strange do more than just make glowy orange symbols.
When watching,
he like shot snakes out his hands in that trailer because I was like, yes, he's gonna do more magic than just making glowy things and throwing them.
When I was watching No Way Home, I'm sitting here like Doctor Strange like manipulating reality and stuff. I'm like, I miss Doctor Strange in live action so much. I really miss Doctor Strange, bro.
Yeah, I want to see him do more like just different magical stuff. Like
I just want to see him do more LSD trippy stuff like he did in the first movie. Like that's. Yeah, I don't even care what he does. Like I just want to see more.
In the last episode of What If, he was doing a lot of different magic. I want to see that from Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, which was my most anticipated film, but Thor: Love and Thunder is currently my most anticipated film, with Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness a close second. But on the video games, wrap things up, we're going to talk about Splinter Cell Remake. Officially in the works. It will be ground up remake using the Snowdrop engine. It's been a while since we had a proper super spy stealth game. The last one we had was Metal Gear Solid 5, and I think that was like 2015. I know you're excited. You like your stuff from Splinter.
I do. I love me some Splinter Cell. Everyone that knows me knows I love Splinter Cell. When that announcement came out, immediately I sent it to like everybody I knew that also liked video games was starting to freak out.
Yeah. I watched a documentary / history of a Splinter Cell video by Nick930 on YouTube, who does tons of other dope game docs I've watched before. And if anybody's watching this and you know of Splinter Cell but don't know a lot about the franchise, you can go check out the video. It's really good. You might like it too. And because the only Splinter Cell games I've played were essentially the last 2 games, Conviction, Blacklist, it's in my brain. Even though I knew it was a stealth series, I can only remember the more action-oriented games that are Conviction and Blacklist. So I was like, okay, where did it start? Like, how stealthy are these games truly? And they're pretty stealthy. The first few games are pretty stealthy. In a lot of ways, they're a combination of Thief and Metal Gear. That's like two of the biggest inspirations that they drew from. Thief in the sense of how you manipulate light and shadow to do your stuff, and the third person kind of like shooter shooter-ish gameplay, heavily inspired by at the time I don't think Metal Gear Solid 3 was out. Metal Gear Solid 2 was out at this time. Almost likely inspired by Metal Gear Solid 2 specifically. So yeah. Because seeing how similar those games are to Thief and Metal Gear, makes me hyped to see this first game be remade, and doubly hyped to see the second game be remade because people say that the second game is the best.
It is the best game.
If the first one does well, then they'll definitely do Chaos Theory, and I'll be excited for that as well. And I want me a Metal Gear Solid remake eventually. Like, why are people calling me?
That theme song, like, what is that? That sounds like the weirdest, like.
Balrog's theme from Street Fighter.
Is it really?
It's actually really good. You should check it out. Most Street Fighter music is amazing. Like, eventually we're gonna have to talk about more music on this podcast, not just video game music, but like just music in general, because I love music.
I was gonna say I've heard most. I've heard most Street Fighter theme. I did not know that was Balrog's. Huh. Ken's theme in Street Fighter is like one of my favorite video game themes of all time.
Ken's theme is straight up. It's my favorite Street Fighter theme. But the other Street Fighter games, like non-numbered games, like was it Street Fighter EX? I think that's what it's called. Has some great themes, alternate themes with characters. Like the alternate theme for Sakura, Guile, and Chun-Li in that game are incredible. Especially Sakura and Chun-Li. I like Chun-Li's theme, that version of Chun-Li's theme, more than Cammy's theme is probably a close second for my favorite Street Fighter theme. I think it's really good. But yeah, anything else to say about Splinter Cell before we wrap up?
No.
All right. So I'm Dijon.
I'm Amir.
And you can find my at right below me. The Mastercast at and Amir's at below him. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content. And click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post.